now. Waiting for some folks to hop on in as we just started the live. Let's see. All right, right here. All right. Oh, yep, we're finally live. I can see it now. Awesome, awesome. Good evening, good evening. Those joining us right now, please let us know that you are here with us. See who's there. Who's all joining in? I know it's just now 7. I keep getting the 8 o'clock in my head, like, oh, it's 8. It's not 8. It's 7.
Yeah.
Awesome. Those folks joining in right now, welcome to Master Your Money with Eric Anderson. Um, we're going to be talking about important tax dates for 2026. If you have any questions or anything in particular about your taxes looking for this year in 2026, I know there's some questions I probably should have done or should have done some things in 2025, and now we're going to prepare for that 2026. Now that it's already done, there's nothing we can do with 2025. What can we do for this 2026 to be able to prepare for the 2026 year? Those who join us, please let us know that you're here with us. Let us know how you're feeling right now. Give us one word. How you feeling in this space right now? Just drop it in the comments in the chat. Just let us know how you're feeling, how you're doing this evening. If you're joining us across in the different time zones across the world, please let us know how you're feeling at this moment. One word, please let us know and where you're from if you get the chance. Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into this Master Your Money with Eric. And we do this every Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we're not going to be able to, we won't be live. But however, we do have 2 upcoming profit sessions that's coming up. One is this Sunday at 6 p.m. So any of the y'all are able to go to profitsessions.com. Please go over there and then you'll be able to register for the profit session. It is a private, unique type of session that Eric has. He'll probably give you a little bit more about it, but we do have it this Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then also on this next week, next Thursday, it will also be at 7 p.m. But you must register for that. So just to let you know, you must register for that. So go to profitsessions.com and you'll be able to register. That'll be a nice private profit session masterclass. So you get to ask Eric a lot of different questions about a lot of different things. I know what was the topic for this one. We did a lot of foundational stuff on this last one. Eric, you want to add more to that?
I believe this one on Sunday is about money leaks in your business.
Okay, money leaks in your business. Okay,
Correct.
awesome. Definitely want to be there. Eric, how we doing today, sir? How you feeling today in this? I know you just celebrated a birthday. I know you don't want to talk about it, but happy birthday again, sir. Belated birthday.
Thank you.
I know
Thank
you
you.
celebrate any opportunity to have another trip around the sun is just a blessing.
Yes, sir.
So glad you're here and glad those if you celebrating your birthday too or this month, happy birthday to you. Well, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead and take it off for us for this evening for the Master Your Sessions, Master Your Live. Yeah.
So, like you said, look forward to seeing everybody this Sunday. I'm sorry, I have something in my eye. The profit sessions on this Sunday and also this Thursday.
Yeah,
Appreciate everybody who came out last week. I believe that one was on Saturday, correct? No, that was on Thursday night.
it was
Last week,
Thursday.
night.
Yeah,
Yes, sir. I appreciate everybody who came out. We had a great time, a lot of questions, a lot of stuff I believe was accomplished. And hopefully we'll see a whole lot more people this Sunday as well. Again, like you said, you need to go to www.profitsessions.com and it'll give you the link for you to sign up to be on the Zoom link to be part of the sessions. And again, it's free. Don't believe you got to go to it. It's going to be a price on it. These sessions are free. So just go ahead to theprofitsessions.com and click. And we look forward to seeing you.
awesome, awesome. Thank you, Eric. So for this evening, what are we going to talk about today? Important tax dates and tips on for 2026. Where do you want to start off? What has been your, I guess, from 2025 to 2026 now? What are those things that come to mind to be prepared for 2026?
So a lot of the main questions I've been getting already this year are a lot of people are asking certain dates on when does this tax season with the IRS open up. Being told that's January 26th. I already have clients that we already are doing returns for. I am able to do your return and put it in the queue, but the IRS does not actually officially accept e-files till January 26th. So even though it's in the queue and we have it, you will not start getting your refunds and stuff like that till after the 26th.
Okay. Okay. That's good stuff. That's good
Mhm.
stuff. Definitely
And
got to be prepared. Go ahead.
correct. And as usual, I tell people all the time the main things that you need to be looking out for when you get ready to do your taxes, besides the obvious, the W 2s, the 1099s, and things like that, you need to be looking out for if you are an LLC. An LLC means an S Corp, C Corp, partnership, nonprofit, all of those type of things. You have to file a franchise tax report. I keep on stressing this, but people always keep saying they had no idea they had to file those. But every year, you have to go onto the comptroller website and fill out a franchise tax report. Even if your business does is under the no tax due, or you even if your business doesn't make any money at all, you still have to file the franchise tax report every year. A lot of people claim they do not know because the letter goes to your registered agent, not to you. So if you are not the registered agent of your business, the registered agent should send you a copy of of the form for you to do your franchise tax. They should either go online and file it for you, or they should let you know that it needs to be filed so you can get with your tax preparer or yourself to get it filed. Again, a lot of times people reach out to me in September when they get the late notice and they say, hey, I came in there and I did my taxes. Why are they saying my taxes aren't filed? And again, that is not the same thing. Your franchise tax is not the same thing as your personal taxes. I have no problem filing franchise taxes for clients. I file the franchise taxes for a lot of my clients because they actually bring the form in, or you're already in my queue in it with all your information for me to just go in there and file it. But if I do not have your information in order to file it online, I cannot file your franchise tax report for you. So again, you have to get that information from your registered agent. If you're your own registered agent, then you'll get the letter sent to you, or otherwise it'll get sent to your registered agent, and the registered agent has to let you know the information needed in order to file it. So that is always a big thing. Someone came in here today and we had to file their franchise taxes for a couple of years because they had no idea that they are supposed to file their franchise tax report every year. It
It's
happens every year. It happens all the time.
it's interesting because I think of like sales tax, and it's like some of us are not using like taking sales. They're just, you're just
Correct. So they think they don't need to actually do those things at the comptroller. If you collect sales tax, you're supposed to do it depending on how much money you collect. You're supposed to do it monthly, quarterly. I even have clients who actually only have to file the sales tax annually because they make a very small amount of money as far as collecting sales tax. So a lot of people believe that's the only thing that you have to do at the comptroller. But no, you have to actually file the franchise tax report as well. People think well, people say all the time, I'm not a franchise. Why would I have to do that? That's not what it is.
That's the thing. It's
Anyone who's
tricky
LLC,
because you
it's
think
tricky.
of like you're a franchise. It's like I'm not a franchise. I'm not a corporation. You're like, well, I'm just the LLC. But I think the verbiage on that is kind of tricky because they're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not a franchise.
Right.
I'm not franchising, right? Like I'm
Right.
not a franchise. So it can
And I
get
tell
kind of
people
tricky
that
with
all
the
the
word.
time. Yeah, whenever you file to get an LLC, you're going to get a letter stating that from the comptroller that has your tax ID and your web file number on it on that form on the letter that you get, and they tell you that you have to file it. I'm not positive the date on every other state, but I know in Texas it's May 15th of every year. So you get a letter saying that you have to file your franchise tax by May 15th of every year. So, and then the other thing, a lot of people, if you've had some type of tax fraud or something like that, a lot of people get what's called an IP PIN number. And you're going to get that letter here in January. And the reason why I say that, again, when people come in here and they try to e-file their returns, they can't e-file their return because they have to actually put the IP PIN number on the return in order for us to file it. So if you do not have the letter, then we have to go online. You have to do the IP PIN and the ID me at the irs.gov and go online and actually get your personalized IP PIN number. And so to avoid us having to do all of that, if you actually look out for that letter, you'll get that letter here in the next couple of weeks or whatever. And you need to take that to whoever prepares your taxes. And lastly, people who are still under the ACA or the marketplace, you're going to get what's called a 1095A from healthcare.gov. And you cannot, again, you cannot e file your returns if you do not have the 1095A. It'll kick it out. If I try to e file your returns, it says that you need to file the 8962 form, which is the form when people have the 1095A in order to file the returns. It's funny, a lot of people are upset right now because of what the president has done, where you can't just go to Free Tax USA and all of that in order to fake file returns. Usually, people who do that, if you're not doing it yourself, it's someone who claims they do returns and they just go to Free File Tax USA and stuff like that because you do not need you do not need a PTIN number and all that to e-file it. You're basically filing it like you're filing it for the person. That's why they say self-employed. But the reason why I'm saying that in this instance is you can actually file those returns without doing the 1095A. But you're going to get a letter later on saying that you need to send in that 8962 form.
Okay.
So
Okay.
usually, depending on your software, you're not going to be able to e-file if you are someone who is in the marketplace and you do not file the 8962 form.
Okay.
So a lot of people do not know that until they again come in here and they say they got this letter. And then when they talk to the person who did their return, the person says they have no clue what you're talking about, what you are saying to them. Because again, we won't get into fake tax preparers, but that is what they're talking about. You need to actually get the 1095A form and you need to file the 8962 form.
Okay.
And those are the main three things that people miss when they come in here, when we get ready to file the return. If it does not accept your e-file, those are usually the things that you have to go back home and find, or we have to call healthcare.gov. We have to go onto the IRS website in order to get these things.
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Right.
So would you say like what would be the upcoming dates that right now it's January, right? It's January. What's coming up right now? If you could think about some of the dates that's coming up
So
that we
the
got.
main date, especially if you are someone, if this is your first year as a partnership, as an S corp, or something like that, I'm getting ready to email all of my clients to remind them you have to file the corporation forms, the 1065, the 1120, or the 1120S. That has to be filed by March 15th. A lot of people, especially if it's your first year, you do not know that. So that is usually a big problem for clients who have those type of returns. They're thinking that everything is not due till April 15th. And then when they come in here to file their S corp, say the first week of April or something like that, They're just coming in to file the S corp in their personal return, and it's like your S corp is already late, or your 1120 is already late, or your partnership, your 1065 form is already late, and there's penalties and fees and all that stuff for having to file those returns late. So usually, if you are somebody who's waiting for like your W-2s or interest or dividends, things like that, um, but you also have an S corp or something like that, I always tell people it's best to just go ahead and file an extension for the corporation forms. And then once you get all your stuff together for your personal return, you can file that along with your personal return on April 15th. But it's very important that if you're not going to have your business, we're going to call it your business return. People always think that your business return, when someone says my business return, I get people all the time say, hey, can you send me a copy of my business return? And usually they're just an LLC. And it's like, that's part of your personal return. It's your Schedule C. That's part of your personal return. When you're saying a business return to me, I'm thinking you're saying your 1120S, your 1065 or something like that. But when someone's made their business into a corporation like that, you need to understand that you need to file those returns by March 15th. And a lot of clients do not know that or forget or are not aware of that. And again, like I said, when they come in here to doing their returns, they'll come in and they'll say, oh, by the way, I'm an S Corp. And we're like in the first week of April or at the end of March or whatever. And it's like, hey, your corporation was already due back in March 15th. And they'll say, I had no idea on that. So that's a very important date to realize as we're getting close to it. If you are somebody, and this is anybody, this is a W-2 person, this is a person who owns a business. If you file estimated taxes because you always owe taxes every year and you want to do your estimated taxes with the coupons or going online, the fourth quarter of 2025 is due on January 15th. I know that's not short, that's a very short time from now, but if you've been doing estimated payments and you have the coupons, you should already know that that's due on January 15th. And if you are somebody who, if you have a business and you have to do 941 forms and the quarterly unemployment and the 940s and stuff like that, those payments are due by the 14th. If you go to the EFTPS and you go online and do that, I've spent all day today doing that, doing payroll stuff for clients. So we've been paying 941s and 940s all day today. And I went ahead and did the unemployments as well. Those are not due till January 31st. So again, this is if you don't have ADP, Paychex, Gusto, because usually those places take care of that for you. But if you're somebody who does your own payroll, you need to be aware that the payment is due January 15th, and the actual paperwork that you have to send in is due by January 31st. And again, that's for the fourth quarter 941, that's for the fourth quarter unemployment, and the 940, which is the annual unemployment form. And I believe those are the most important things here in January, as well as, making sure, if you're a business owner, to try to get everybody's W-2s by January 31st, get everybody's 1099s and all that stuff filled out and e-filed so it can be mailed to your employees. A lot of people have already done that by now because, like I said, I'm already getting clients where we're already taking a look at their returns because they already got their W-2s and their 1099s and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. They already got the W-2s already, huh?
Yeah, clients who already have their W-2s. So yeah, we've already started doing returns.
Oh, wow. So you're available to already start the process of doing returns right now. So you are, you don't have to wait till.
Yeah, it just holds them in pending until January 26th. Yeah, we don't do, what do you call it? We don't do advances and stuff like that. I don't do that. So yeah, if you're somebody who's owed taxes and stuff like that, again, we don't do advances. We just tell you how much you're going to get back. And then, if you're going to have it sent to your direct deposit or whatever, it's just sitting pending. And then, like I said, when it opens up, all the files are going to go right through, and then everybody will start getting their money.
Okay. So whether or not you're going to get something back, or they're going to have to, how much they're going to have to pay in, right?
Correct.
Okay. For that year. And would you, during that time, I don't know, this is a sidebar, but if there's something that's in there, would you give a suggestion on where to do like like as far as prepare for this year than from
Correct.
last year?
Yeah, definitely. We're not H&R Block. We don't just do returns. We actually do a consultation as to what I believe that you should do to not owe taxes the next year. Obviously, there's really, in many cases, there's nothing you can do unless we're going to do some scam nonsense. But obviously, we can talk about changing your W-4s, putting more money into retirement. If you own a business, different things that you could be writing off that you're not writing off legitimately, different things that you could be doing throughout the year to help you save money on your taxes. A lot of, like I said, earlier, a lot of situations are when people come in here and they've never really had a conversation about their taxes and they own a business. One of the first things we talk about is maybe you could consider making yourself an S corp. If your business is really and truly making a lot of money and you are legitimately trying to grow your business, you're not about, I don't want to pay any taxes. Again, this is just being honest. There are so many people who I'm dealing with right now who are trying to grow their business. So they have to show tax returns where they're making money and, trying to buy a house or trying to get a business loan and things like that. I know, again, I don't want to go into it as far as you see all these nonsense videos and stuff of people telling you they can get you 250, 500 and stuff like that. If you are legitimately trying to grow your business, you really and truly have to show financial statements. You really and truly have to show tax returns showing that you make money. And so that is where a lot of clients get caught up is they're trying to buy a house, they're trying to grow their business, and they're self-employed. So if you're self-employed, you don't have the benefit of I got a W-2 and so they're taking taxes out through the year. My company is paying half my self-employment tax, so that's really not a big hit on me. So I can make a certain amount of money but not pay as much taxes. And even if I am paying taxes, again, I'm paying taxes. That money's being taken out of my check every paycheck, right? And then it's being paid. If I'm self-employed and I'm not doing estimated payments and I'm not on a salary and things like that, then I can have a huge tax bill at the end of the year, which is what happens a whole lot of times with most of my clients, right? Who are trying to go buy a house or trying to go get a business loan and things like that. And again, people can say, I don't know what I'm talking about all day, but again, I'm the one talking to the lenders. I'm the one who's having to show the financial statements, who's having to show the tax returns and stuff like that, because they're not playing as far as um, I'm going to lie and do bank fraud and stuff like that. My clients don't do that. They actually show financial statements. They actually show tax returns that show they make money. And so, in order to do that, that's when we talk about becoming an S corp. And if people don't understand the good part about being an S corp means you pay yourself a salary, so you become an employee of the business. So you're taking taxes out just like if you worked at a job. The business pays part of your self-employment tax. That's right off for the business, and then part of the income, the K1 part, it's called pass-through income. You only pay federal on that. You do not pay self-employment tax on that. So that is a huge tax savings for people who are profiting over 40, 50, $60,000 a year. Those are the type of people who need to become S corps because a
Oh,
huge part of your income or your profit, so to speak, you do not pay self-employment tax on.
okay.
And so that's a tax strategy that a lot of clients use. Again, if I'm growing my business and I want to legitimately grow my business and legitimately show that my business is profitable, legitimately show that when I'm trying to go get a bank loan, when I'm trying to go get a home and things like that, we're so fixated on Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes. We're so fixated on stuff like that that we really and truly don't think about I might really have to pay taxes in order for someone to legitimately give me a loan, be it to go buy a car, to get a house, to get a business loan. And again, you really don't find that out until you are legitimately trying to go to a bank and trying to get a loan instead
Yeah.
of letting somebody commit bank fraud and charge you 20, 10, 15, 20% for them to do some bank fraud for you in order to get you a loan that in many cases you can't afford to pay back. That's just the truth. That's just what it is. So,
Yeah. That's good.
so
I think a lot of folks will get in. If you wanted to quote, I know you talk about it a lot. Lifestyle creep.
correct.
You want to get, you want to get a bigger house. You want some land. You want to moving in different areas. So you're trying to make, see what but those numbers, they may not look, they need to look a little different, but you've been writing off stuff. You've been, doing all these types of things to not pay any taxes when you can't really technically on paper afford the home or, property that you're trying to purchase.
Amazing.
So
That's one of the biggest conversations I have throughout the year. Throughout the year, not just during tax season, like you said, is someone who wants to go buy real estate. I want to go buy real estate, but I show I don't make any money. But I want to go buy real estate and I need to prove that I can afford this real estate. But I'm showing tax returns showing I make no money. So again, like I said, I spend so much time throughout the year dealing with clients and dealing with lenders to try to get them the correct tax returns. Again, how we were talking earlier about the bookkeeping part. That's when we're going back into bookkeeping because we're having to help clients get their books together, not just for tax season, but throughout the year. You don't want to just have your books together at the end of the year. What if you're trying, like you said, if I'm trying to get a business loan or if I'm trying to go buy property or stuff like that, and the lender says, hey, can I see your financial statements to see what you got going on right now? And now you're hustling, unless again, you're going to do some fraud and show some fake financial statements. You should legitimately have financial statements. But a lot of times businesses don't have that because they really don't think that's an important part of their business. And again, like I said before, so many people are so fixated on, I just don't want to pay any taxes. And not paying taxes is not always a great thing, especially depending on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to grow your business.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get caught up with that.
Did have a question here. So are there any specific thresholds for income phase outs that I should be aware of this year? Also, is my current business entity structure still the most tax efficient option, LLC versus S Corp? I know that when you talked about that a little bit earlier. So
yeah, we talked a little bit about the brackets. So there are phase outs as far as the brackets. I believe the jump from the 10 to the 20, it's either 20 or 22%. I think it jumps at like 120 or 150. If you make more than that, that's where that jumps on that. We're not going to talk about the earned income credit. I mean, you've seen all of those. All these people saying, you make 36,000, you got 3 kids, I can get you $15,000 back. So we all know what that's about.
Yeah.
And then the part about what's more tax efficient, like I said before, usually I would not tell a client because of all the parts. It sounds simple just to say, just turn into an S Corp. The different types of parts that you have to do as far as being an S Corp, I really wouldn't look into being in an S Corp unless I was profiting over 40 to 50,000. And that's profit. Because again, you have to actually pay yourself a salary. And so usually most of my clients start at paying themselves around $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And again, so that's half of like 50,000. And then the other half, if you're profitable like that, so you're paying yourself the 30,000, and then the other part, the 20 to 30,000 comes over in the K1. And again, like I said before, you do not pay self-employment tax on the part that comes over in the K1 compared if I was in a Schedule C. If I was showing a $50,000, $60,000 profit on a Schedule C, I would have to pay federal and self-employment tax on that whole amount. You'd be amazed when I have clients and we're going over the return and I say, can I just show you this line? And we go to the self-employment tax line. A lot of times your what you owe is around what your self-employment tax is. Because again, you're not paying any self-employment tax throughout the year. So you end up having that huge amount at the end of the year that you have to actually make a tax payment on.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good stuff. And you think about like, as folks are, I know there's some dates coming up as far as I know how to fill this out, as far as like when the W-2s come in, where they need to be sent out if you are paying employees, and then also 1099s are due, right? For
Right.
employees, contractors, all that good stuff. There is that like February or is that end of January? What is
So
that?
the 1099s, they give you a little bit more time for you to be able to send it to the contractors, and the contractors send it back offline. That's what me and you did today. for your contractors.
Yeah.
So usually people will send me their information for the contractors and stuff like that, and I'll send a copy back to say, hey, make sure the addresses and the amount that you're saying, because a lot of times, again, you wouldn't believe how many times somebody comes in here and says my 1099 is incorrect,
Mm.
because somebody will come in and say, I did not make that much money from this contractor, from this
Wow.
from this business. Yeah, it happens all the time. Believe it or not, it happens all the time. People come in and say my 1099 is incorrect. It's a little harder with a W-2, right? Because you're seeing your W-2, if you're looking at your pay stubs every month and stuff like that, you pretty much know what your W-2 is going to be. You can even look at your last pay stub to have kind of a great idea of what your W-2 should look like. But a lot of times people don't get their total on their 1099, obviously, until their 1099 is sent to them. And so a lot of times somebody, I even have people who I do their 1099s. They'll say, hey, I messed up on this amount, or this person's address is incorrect, or whatever. It's like, from the information you sent me, somebody might be a 1099 and they moved or whatever. And again, you've seen that. You've seen it yourself where, hey, they've moved. And so now their address is incorrect. So a lot of times I'll get where we've mailed out the 1099s, and then somebody will come back to the business owner and they'll say they never got their 1099s. And then we'll look it up and it's like, yeah, you moved, but you didn't send the due W-9 to the person who contracted you. So your 1099 was sent somewhere else. So hopefully when I send copies to the business owner, they can catch it. Because once we put it in, it's e-filed and a copy is mailed to the contractor, to the W-2 employee, or whoever, whichever one we're doing, those get sent to them. And so if you have the wrong address, you're probably not going to get it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's good. Yeah, because that actually something bounced on me before. So now I was like, well, can I send them like this the clip,
Yeah.
email it to them,
Yeah.
let them know, hey, everything checks out on this,
Yeah.
and
So
then I can
yeah, we
send it off officially.
correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. That's
So
good.
those are the main ones, and obviously April 15th is your personal return and things like that. But the main things to look out for, like I said in January, a lot of it depends on what your business is doing. Again, if you aren't doing your own payroll, if you have ADP, Gusto, Paychex, uh, Wave, things like that, these are just different things from my clients, and I know they use. Those companies are responsible for sending out your 941s, your 940, your W-2s, your W-3, all that stuff. They're responsible for that. But I do help clients who do their own payroll, or I help them do their payroll. And so, like I said, we went on to uh, EFTPS today because it was due by the 15th. So we went on today and we made everybody's payroll payments, made their 940 payments and stuff like that, and their unemployment payments. So if that's something you have to do on your own, then that's due on the 15th, as well as anybody, not just a business owner. If you are a W-2 employee and you usually owe taxes and you make estimated payments throughout the year, again, the fourth quarter is due by the 15th.
Okay.
Yep. And then again, you should be getting, just to recap, you should be getting your franchise tax letter sometime this month, unless you are not your own registered agent, which most people are not. It goes to your registered agent, and your registered agent is either supposed to take care of it, or they're supposed to send you a copy to let you know that that's due. And a lot of times that doesn't happen because, as you see, I get a whole lot of people calling me in September saying, "Hey, what is that?" A lot of people say, "I don't even know what this is." A lot of people call me and they say, "Hey, what is this?" I don't even have a clue what this is. And it's that you're supposed to file your franchise tax by May 15th. And if you don't file it by May 15th, you'll get a letter in September where they kind of give you the warning that you are possibly going to lose your LLC because you didn't file the franchise tax. So
Okay. Okay. Big one. April 15th. That's a big one. That big one is your regular, unless you need an extension, correct?
Mm.
That
Unless you do an extension March 15th or April 15th. And speaking on that, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So a lot of people will call me on, it's not so bad on March 15th because usually you do not pay taxes on a partnership or an S corp, so you can file that and there's no problem with that. But a lot of times people will call and ask to do an extension on their personal return, and they do not pay with the extension. They just do the extension. They don't do a payment with the extension. And then when they finally file the return, they'll get a letter where they're being charged interest from April 15th to the day that they pay. Correct. And a lot of people, for some reason, do not understand that either. But again, that's just filing the extension keeps you from having to get the failure to file penalty and all that stuff. But they are still going to charge you interest on whatever you owe back from April 15th to whatever date it is that you do file the return and actually make your payment. So just filing an extension does not absolve you from not having to pay the interest. And a lot of people, they'll file, but they make no payment. And then later on, they'll get a letter, and that's where the IRS is starting to charge you interest on the amount that you owe.
That's I
And
think
people
not
go
everybody knows that part right there. Because if I don't have the money,
Correct.
then I'm just like, man, file an extension. I don't have it to pay, not realizing what my options really are
Right.
is I can actually schedule a if I need time to make payments, then I can schedule a payment and they won't charge me
They'll
any.
start if you go into the payment plan, then
Yeah.
they'll start charging you interest on the payments. Correct. A lot of
Okay.
people don't. Well, people know it, and then they'll ask what the interest is and stuff like that. And again, that kind of goes back to the budget part. Because again, if you know you're going to owe taxes every year, you need to either make estimated payments, or again, you need to change your W-4, whatever you need to do in order to get that down. Because again, like I said, when you get on a payment plan, now this is an expense every month that you have to pay. And so again, we don't want people to do the scam stuff of creating a business or putting a whole bunch of stuff on your Schedule A and all that to avoid paying taxes. There are legitimate things that you can do in order to bring your taxes down. Put money into your IRA, put money into your 401k, things like that. If I have a business, there are legitimate expenses that I could be writing off to help alleviate paying my taxes. The problem is, and again, I see it all the time. I'm at the IRS all the time for these type of things. You get people who, and again, I see the videos out here. I see them. I can get you the most return. When you see these people already telling you how much they can get you, and you've never met the person in your life, those should be red flags. Because more than likely, they're going to do scam things in order to get you a return. And again, I know we've had these conversations before. I know we've talked about it before, but I think it's very important because people, as you can see on Facebook, you can see on social media, you see people asking, who can get me the most back on my return? I need you guys to refer me somebody who can get me a huge amount on my return. And it's usually people who, again, are doing the Free Tax USA, stuff like that, because they're not putting their PTIN number on it. If you don't believe me, look at the returns. It says self-employed right on them. So these are not legitimate people doing taxes. And they are doing the type of stuff that I'm talking about. That should be the red flag. And the other red flag should be how much they charge you. A lot of times they will charge you a percentage of whatever they get you back. Again, that should be a red flag. It should be an automatic red flag, but for some reason, it's not. People are just happy to get these huge returns. And again, like I say all the time, it's like shoplifting. You might get away with it for a couple of years or whatever, but when you get caught, you're not going to be happy about it because you're going to have to pay all that back. You're going to have to pay the penalties and all those things for it. Is it really worth it? And again, people will say, you know what you're talking about, whatever, until you're the one who's caught.
Right.
And then when you're caught and you're sitting down at the IRS having to show all these expenses for this fake business or pull up all the medical expenses that you wrote off on the Schedule A and things like that, then when you're sitting there having to do that, that's when you're upset at the person who did your tax return. And what's worse is so many times somebody will get a letter and they'll say, I have no idea what the IRS is talking about. And then when they come in here, I'll say, did you know you had a business on your return? And they'll say, I had no idea. What are you talking about? And then I'll pull up the Schedule C for this fake business for the return. And again, because these people are not going over the return with you. They would not, again, you wouldn't believe how many times when I say to somebody, can you send me last year's return? if it's my first year working with you and I send you send me last year's return and they just send like the first 2 pages. And like that's all that was sent to me was the first 2 pages. And but then I can see where it says other income and it has a huge negative number. I said, "Do you have a business?" And like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You got this huge return because they created this they created this fake business that's showing these negative numbers on that shows this huge negative number on it." Or where it says you're a standard or itemized deduction, it's a huge number. And it's like, "Oh, do you own a home? Do you do a whole lot of tithing and a lot of donations?" What are you talking about? They put a whole bunch of medical expenses on your business, on your Schedule A. They put a whole bunch of medical expenses on your Schedule A. You might get away with it. You might get away with it. But again, when you don't get away with it and you get that letter to the from the IRS, then I got to go down there with you to try to help you go, get through this with the IRS. So
So this is good, Eric. So you can write off. I don't know what to write off, but as far as medical expenses, if I gotta pay for it, medical expenses, why would I put that on my return? Like why would I
so
put
if
that
you
on
so people who like have huge surgeries and things like that, because the main thing is, see, I keep saying a huge medical expense because again, you have to whatever's over 7.5% of your income, anything over that number, you can put on your Schedule A. But depending on if you're married, head of household, single, your that number still has to be more than your standard deduction in order for it to be worth it. So if I have $10,000 worth of medical expenses, I'm not going to get anything from that,
there?
right?
Oh, okay, okay,
It's people who put I got 50, 60, $70,000 worth of medical expenses. And
okay.
again, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? It sounds absolutely crazy, but
Yeah,
I've actually seen it. And so when
but
the IRS
that's like you got cancer and you like shelling
correct,
out money. You got
correct,
something, some illness
correct,
that's not fun
correct.
for
Yes,
that or expensive
and then the
transplant.
IRS correct. And when the IRS says, "Hey, can you send us copies of all these receipts of this?" And then when you call the person who did the return and did it, they play dumb. They act like they didn't know that they did that.
Mm,
I've seen it. They wanna play dumb and act like they didn't know that they put that on your return. And then the sad part about it is any CPA or whatever will tell you, you're the one who's stuck. It doesn't matter who did your return, you're the one who has to pay it back. And the sad part about it is when you go down there, and again, when you see it says self-prepared, it doesn't have anybody's PTIN number, EIN number, even the name of their business. So the IRS really can't even get that person.
mhm.
Like if I do a return and I mess the return up, right? And it has all my information on it, the IRS has me, right? They have all my information. But if you're somebody out here, again, shade tree tax professionals, as we call them,
Oh, I say shade.
it's not the truth. Shade tree tax professionals who do not have PTIN numbers, who do not have EIN numbers, but jump on here and say, "Hey, I do taxes now," and everybody runs goes does it because they're getting everybody the biggest tax return until you get audited. And
Yeah,
then when you get audited, you're down there by yourself because that person isn't going to go there with you. They're not going to go down there with you and try to explain why they did this huge medical expense and the person had no idea, or how they created a business, how I'm sitting there with my client and the return says I'm an event planner, says the person's an event planner, and the person's looking at the IRS agent and saying, "I never told this person that I have a business." What you gonna say if you're the one who did the tax return who's sitting there with them? What you gonna say? That person's lying. You're gonna say they're lying? They told me they have a business and they handed me all these receipts? You're not gonna say that. You're just not gonna go.
mm,
And sadly, a lot of people get caught up in that because we are so fixated again on getting these huge tax returns to be able to go out here and do all these things, stuff like that. Again, I'm not gonna get into again, if you're legitimately head of household, make 30, $35,000 a year, got 2 or 3 kids, you get the earned income credit, you get the additional child tax credit, all of that. It really and truly happens. There are really and truly people out here who are that. But again, one of the big things I'm seeing now is all these people who you can tell by the way they talk and the way they act, they're not legitimate tax preparers who are telling everybody even if you don't work, right? We've seen them, right? Even if you don't work, if you're doing hair in your house or stuff like that, just come to me. And again, I'm going to make it where it shows you make a certain amount of money to be within the threshold, like the person asked. When the person said, "What are the thresholds?" You're going to be within the thresholds to be able to get the maximum amount of earned income credit for your kids.
Yeah, that's
And we
all.
don't think it's fraud. And we don't think it's fraud.
I was gonna
We
ask you that, Eric.
don't think
You
it's
know,
fraud
I
because
got
again,
two, but I
online,
might have a
no,
third. And I
you make way too much money. That's the point. So in your situation, I'll tell you, in your situation, Isaac, they would create a business and show you had a business with a 60, $70,000 loss. Not to tell how much you make, but to show a 60, $70,000 loss in order to get you guys down to the threshold, as the person asked, to get you down to the threshold of being able to get in the earned income credit. And again, all you know is I went to Eric. Eric only got me a couple $1,000s. I went to this person, they got me 15. Eric doesn't know what he's doing until you get audited. Then you got to call Eric. You got to call Eric. And it happens. It's happened.
I know.
Then you got to call Eric. And Eric, I'm getting audited. I didn't do your return. Why are you calling me? Because the person who did it isn't answering the phone anymore. They're not answering my phone calls.
And I need this done.
And I need somebody to go down there and help me. So I'll go down there with you. I'm entertained. Being honest with you, I'm entertained. So I'll go down there with you. So I'll go down there with you and I'll say, yep, this is what the person did. I've actually had people sit right here. Yep, you get audited. I've actually had people sit in chairs crying because I showed them. I've actually showed them. I've actually pulled where we were able to get the return, even if they don't have the return. We can pull your transcripts up from the IRS and it'll show right on there. It won't show the Schedule C. You can't get the actual Schedule C from the IRS to show all the losses and stuff like that, but it shows on the line. It shows that you had this huge other income loss, which is usually real estate or a business. And I'm like, that's what they did. Then when you get to the IRS has it. They'll show it to you. If they haven't already sent you the letter asking you to tell them what these expenses are.
Yeah.
And then you're upset. But again, I don't want to say you're being greedy, but you should ask yourself, you should say, man, when I usually go to somebody else, I either owe or I only get this amount. What are you doing? Remember, I told you the one client when he came to me and he was like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, you don't have any kids, you don't have anything. It's like, there's no way this person can get you this amount of money back. Remember, I told you he called the person.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, can you send me a copy of my return before you file it? And the person was like, no, we don't do that. You're not going to send me a copy of my return before you file it. And then the person had the nerve to say, is that too much that you're getting back? I can adjust it. Are you bullshitting me? That is what she said. I was sitting there. I was sitting there when he was on the phone with her. And then he was like, no. He's like, I don't want you to do anything until you send me a copy. He said, you're not going to send me a copy? She said, no, and hung up.
Wow. Yeah.
Because he came to me and he was like, he's like, this doesn't make sense. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to show you what they're doing if they send you a copy. But I was like, they're not going to send you a copy. And I'm sorry if I'm blowing up everybody's business right now. All you scammers out there, putting little JT now, right? I'm sorry if I'm blowing up all you scammers. Most of you are losing your business anyway, because again, they're taking away Free Tax USA. So if you got to legitimately have a business where you have a PTIN number to order to file, you don't got a business anymore anyway, unless you're doing paper returns. And who does those? You see what I'm saying? So again, so it's getting blown up now anyway. Not by me, it's by the president. He's blowing that up. But when you say to somebody, can you send me a copy of yours? I never file anybody's return without doing a Zoom, going over it with you, or sending you a copy and say, hey, let's get on the phone to go over your return and go over last year's numbers and this year's numbers to tell you the differences and all that. I would never just file somebody's return without telling them all the numbers on their return. But it's so sad that so many people do it. And again, it's people who claim they do tax returns. And their big thing is, again, Go on TikTok, go on all these places and look at all these people doing these videos, dancing and twerk. Oh my God. Dancing and twerking and doing their hair, and how professional is that? But anyway, that's on y'all. That's on
I just say, Eric is on the rant right now. He's
But anyway,
so
the people who are
we
doing
did have a few.
that and dancing, it's like the thing where the people saying, I can get you SBA loans, get you 150, 200,000 in 3 hours. For real? For real? For real? And they're dancing all around, stuff like that. Your common sense should kick in. Your common sense should kick in. But again, sadly, in a lot of spaces, it doesn't. It's no different than all these people who say they can get anything removed from your credit in 14 days, no matter what it is, and stuff like that. I'm not trying to be funny or rude. Your common sense has to kick in. Oh, okay, perfect. So a lot of people, and I get a lot of that. So the main thing that you should be looking out for, if you are W-2'd, so I have a lot of W-2 clients who work remotely and stuff like that, work in other states. If they on the W-2 have that state where they're taking state taxes out and stuff like that, you would just have to file a non-resident state return for that state and make sure that you're only showing the amount for that state. Because otherwise, if you don't do that, if you say, hey, for my whole amount, yep, yes, sir. Usually, if you do that, then they'll try to charge you state taxes on your whole amount of income. And usually for 1099s and stuff like that, I would just make sure that they're not sending the 1099 into that state. So a lot of people, like I said, have rental properties and things like that, where they have to file those state returns and things like that. You just file non-resident returns. Just make sure if you're being W-2 somewhere where you're doing remote work and stuff like that, that the bottom of the W-2, I forgot what line it is, but the line will have the state and it'll have the state taxes taken out. So they're taking the state taxes out for you. A lot of times, because we're here in Texas, so there are no state taxes and like that. So we really don't have to worry about it here. But I have to do New York state returns, California. I have a client, we're waiting to do her Colorado returns, her 1120S and her personal state returns for Colorado, people in Georgia and things like that. So I just have to file the state returns, but I just have to say that they're non-residents if they're here in Texas for whatever state it is that we're filing it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Eric, I know we're wrapping up at this.
Oh wow, really? Already?
Already. So just a quick recap of the important dates that you would like anybody and everybody to know, and how they can get, if they have any questions or they need any assistance on all the different things that we talked about today, that they can still reach out to you, right?
So for me, the main thing, because again, it happens every year. I usually try to catch it with my clients, especially if we've already done it before. So then you're already in because I have a user ID and all that stuff at the comptroller, and all my clients are on there where I can just click on the client and do their franchise tax report for them. Especially here, because now you just have to follow the owner report. You don't have to do the no tax due report or anything like that if you're under 2.6 million. But if you are an LLC, so that means LLC, S Corp, C Corp, even a nonprofit, make sure that you get the franchise tax report. So whoever's doing your taxes, if you want them to do it, they can't do it without that form, because they need the form with the tax ID number and the web file number in order for them to go into the comptroller and go online and file it. So be on the lookout for that. If you are not your registered agent, reach out to your registered agent. I know they might try to charge you for it, but reach out to your registered agent to get them to send you the letter because a lot of them say they do not do the franchise tax report. So, but you can't come to me to have me file it if I don't have the tax ID and the web file number. So make sure you get that if you are going to have someone like me file it for you. Other people, it's not so bad during extension time or off tax season, but if you come in here and you do not have your 1095A and we got to call healthcare.gov in order to get those numbers, I've actually had to sit on the phone for 30, 45 minutes, or the client has had to leave and then call and three-way me back in because they will give you the numbers over the phone. But it usually takes a long time during tax season to call healthcare.gov in order to get the 1095 information. So if you get something from healthcare.gov, it's like a big envelope because it's like 6 or 8 pages. So if you get that, make sure you bring that in when you do your return as well, because that has to be part of your return. And then lastly, if you know that you have to put a PIN number on your return every year, be on the lookout for that. We can go online and get it, but it's a lot easier if you just bring the form in with you. So those are the main things. Also, I know this sounds crazy, but if you know you've taken money out of an IRA, or if you know that you have a bank account like a CD somewhere or a high yield savings account, all those things, make sure that you are waiting to get all those forms. Again, you can go to thefinancialturtle.com. We have an actual form that shows all of the different types of forms that you should be looking out for when you get ready to do your taxes. You would not believe how many people we've done their tax return, and then a couple weeks later, they'll say, I forgot a W-2. A W-2 just came in the mail. How do you know you didn't have that W-2? Or they'll say, I forgot I took money out of an IRA, and now here's the 1099-R for that. So we got to do an amendment on your return. Or they got a 1099 INT, or they got their 1099B because they forgot they sold some stock, or they have something that's in a brokerage account that's collecting dividends or interest. So you will get a 1099B for that if you have a brokerage account that's collecting dividends or interest, and we have to put that on the return. There are people who have gotten letters because they did not put those things on the return, and it was where they did not bring it in to have it put in because they totally forgot those type of things. So again, we have to do amendments for those type of things. So even if you have to wait on it, if you need to do an extension and wait to get these, because a lot of these things you do not get them in January, especially like the 1099Bs and stuff like that. You can go online and get it, but even then, a lot of times they say you can't even download them till like March or whatever. Oh, and one more. If you have kids in college, this is always fun. If you have kids in college, be on the lookout for the 1098T. You would not believe how many times I've sat here with clients who tried to call their kids to have their kids go onto the school website to get the 1098T for us to be able to get the education credits. So if you have a kid who's in college, even if the kid was only in college, like in the first semester of the year or whatever, they should still get a 1098T. Depending on situation, like if they're getting grants, whatever, they might not. But if you have a child in school, make sure you bring the 1098Ts for your kids in order for us to do the education credits for your kids as well. And the 1098 for your mortgage interest, if you're going to put that on your Schedule A, or if you're going to do business use of your home, make sure you do that. And as well, if I own rental property, make sure you get in the 1098s in order to do the mortgage interest, the property tax, and the insurance on your Schedule E for your property tax, for your rental property. So again, you can see all of those things if you go to thefinancialturtle.com. Again, those are all on that sheet of the checklist of everything that you need to have when you go to do your taxes. Everything I just said is on the checklist as well as other stuff. But I'm just saying some of the main things that I see that happens when people come to do their taxes. They have to come back because they don't have some of these things that we're talking about.
Awesome. Sounds
And
good.
so other than that, everybody who's here, a couple of people were confused, as we know, Isaac. A couple of people were confused about the profit session. So a lot of people thought the profit session was here on Facebook and YouTube on Thursday, but it was not. The profit session is something completely different. You need to go to www.profitsessions.com to sign up for Thursday. No, the next one is Saturday, the 18th at 6 p.m. Go to profitsessions.com to click on there to get the link.
Sunday.
Sunday, January
Sunday
18th
at 6. Yeah,
p.m.
Sunday.
in order to do that. And then the next one is next Thursday,
22nd.
not this Thursday, next Thursday at 7 p.m. will be the third session. I believe we're doing 4 sessions, right? We're
Yes.
doing 4 sessions here during tax season. We're going to do them again later, but we are doing 4 right now. So Sunday is part 2, and next Thursday is part 3. Again, it will not be here on Facebook. A lot of people reached out and said they missed us on Thursday. They thought it was here like today's meeting, but no, you have to actually go to profitsessions.com and click on the link in order to be signed up to see that on Sunday at 6 p.m. And I hope to see everybody there. Other than that, that's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate all your wisdom and information today. This has been great. Those of you, please go to thefinancialturtle.com. Also go to Profit Sessions, like Eric said, and we will see you Sunday. Hopefully, we'll
And
see
if you are
Sunday.
not signed up to the YouTube page, please
yeah.
go to Anderson Taxes to the YouTube page. There's other information and things that we are doing on that page as well. It'd be great to have you guys subscribe and be part of that too on YouTube.
Awesome. Yep, sounds good.
I'm good.
All right. I guess we'll see everybody on Sunday, 6 p.m.
We'll see you soon. All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.